Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. My name is Chandler Crump, and welcome back for the first time in, I'd say, almost 2 years to a standardized weekly edition of Crump Live. Let's cue the applause. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for the very first episode of Crump Live, now every single week on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that aren't aware, for those of you that are more new around here, Crump Live was a live stream show we do here on this channel where I cover a myriad of topics, including special events, things of that nature, and relevant news stories, giving my take on it, sometimes giving a raw reaction to something I hadn't seen before. And all around, it's my chance to have a direct conversation and a evening to chill with people like you, like Aaron Behringer, Die Netta Die, AO26, Renex, everybody that we have in the chat over here on YouTube. But we also obviously go live every week, as we will, here on Facebook and X and Rumble. So shout out to the people we have watching us over there as well. This is our very first weekly streamer bringing it back. We still have a lot of the legacy tech we had before, so we're going to continue to use it. It's great stuff, but we're also going to innovate around here. Not too much will change visually speaking. I think this little box I've put myself in is quite nice, but we're going to get some of the countdowns and stuff back. We're going to really get this into a high quality production. We might change up the background sometime here, but for now, this is it. This is Crump Live. Before we jump in, I want to give a huge shout out to all the folks we have joining us here. Renee X says it's Renee X. That makes a lot more sense than, what did I say a second ago? Reneeks? I don't know, something like that. If you're going to be a long-time member here, then definitely letting me know how to pronounce your name is great. I recognize names, I remember names very well, like Dagny Taggart's been joining us since like 2022, so has Aaron Behringer. AO26, I recognize that name, so if you become a standard member here, I'll remember you, and maybe we'll hand out those wrenches at some point. I know I've got a few of those. Oh boy, Thick Wrist McFist. We've got some people here that I love to see again. Also, shout out to the folks we have joining us over on Rumble. I know the chat over there is a little messier sometimes, but making sure we've got it going on is great. Appreciate all you folks over there. And then, of course, over on X as well. Let me silence my phone real quick here, and then we're going to get started with the show for the week. First things first, I want to acknowledge a very large elephant in the room right now, and that is, of course, Hurricane Helene, which is currently making landfall, or is about to make landfall on the panhandle of Florida. I'm actually looking at it right over here. It's been a very large storm. People have been tracking it. Hurricanes are obviously no joke. They take dozens of lives, hundreds of lives, dozens of lives a storm, hundreds of lives over the course of a year of a hurricane season. So if you're in the path, please be safe. I'm praying for all of that. Not only do storms cause a lot of destruction and death, they can really cost a lot of money. They can really destroy buildings. They're not fantastic for the economy. And as I say this, as I get, the serious part of it out of the way, the very first thing I wanted to show was this hilarious thing that the Trump War Room posted. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. The energy for Trump these days is so strong. And I for those of you who don't know, I actually joined Adam Krigler yesterday. If you don't know Adam Krigler, he's a fantastic guy, really great political commentator, podcaster. I've joined his show a few times before. Just yesterday, I was actually describing to him that in the area I live now, which is in the Washington, D.C. area, the DMV, as they call it, it's a very liberal place. But as I'm driving down the street, I've been noticing Trump signs along the road and actually in front of people's houses. And it's the craziest thing to imagine a really blue stronghold like this actually having Trump signs up, and not just in front of like election places, but like just along random roads and down the street. It's crazy. I say this to acknowledge the fact that Trump energy is strong. So strong, in fact, that a hurricane is not strong enough to weaken the Trump energy. Watch this.
Up through interior sections of the southeast, that would include Georgia.
Look at this.
And I think western parts of South and North Carolina could see some tree damage as well. I think in those areas, it's going to be catastrophic.
So I don't know where this, oh no, we do know, Cedar Key, Florida. So somebody in Cedar Key, Florida, or I should say the Weather Channel set up cameras in Cedar Key, Florida, and obviously Florida's Trump country. Somebody is able to track down where that camera is, or maybe just by chance happen to live nearby. They grab their Trump flag and do the most amazing thing possible. The most epic thing we've seen in a while.
Interior sections of the
And look at, I don't know how well you guys can see it. It's a little bit of blurry video. Let me see if I can get it. That's the highest quality it comes in. The water is cinematically splashing behind this man as he, let me do this in slow motion for you guys. He's like, da, 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 da. Look at that. It's so, this is like a movie. And he's running up with that Trump flag, waving majestically in the wind. He's like, yeah, look at this right here. This is what we need to see. Right there. That's the energy we love.
Parts of South and North Carolina
and he takes
could
over.
see some tree damage as well. I think in those areas it's going to be catastrophic.
And watch what they do. Watch what the Weather Channel does. They say, all right, get the camera off. We gotta zoom in on just this. They even took that poor anchor off. They said, listen, we can't show you and him at the same time. We've got to just switch to a map. At least that's what I'm gonna tell myself. I'm coping a little bit, but I just wanted to start the show off with a little bit of a more wholesome story like that, acknowledging that there is some crazy stuff going on. Once again, in all seriousness, if you're in the path of the hurricane, please stay safe. I'm always praying for Florida. I love Florida, but this hurricane is rare. It's actually looking like it's going to be hitting Georgia. For those of you that don't know, Georgia is my home state. It looks like it's not going to go as far north as to the area that I called home for many years, but it is going to be impacting the state very heavily, which is not common. Georgia doesn't always really get hit by hurricanes. I have always said they kind of dodge around Georgia. They either go straight through Florida or they at worst go through Alabama or New Orleans or something, and rarely go through the Carolinas. They always seem to kind of dodge around Georgia, other than a few cases in like 2017. But this is looking like it's going to be a big one. So obviously I want everybody to stay safe. We are going to keep it going to our next story. Now this story is, oh boy, it's crazy. It's actually the headline of our stories today. Obviously I have quite a few stories, but the number one we're going to be talking about is Eric Adams. Now, as you guys may or may not know, Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City. I believe he took over after Bill de Blasio. Thinking there was somebody in between, because Bill de Blasio, did he lose it? I'm getting confused between the mayor and the governor. I think the governor was what was his name? Oh, I'm blanking. But he got, like, he had to resign, or was he impeached? Something like that. He got out, and so we had Kathy Hochul. She's still the governor, but we have Eric Adams, who I think he won an election. That's what it was. I think he won the election. Bill de Blasio didn't run again. I think that's how it is. I don't follow New York as closely as I should. But either way, all that to say, he is in some hot water right now. New York Post calls it a historic federal indictment against Eric Adams, claims he fraudulently got $10 million in public funds and $123,000 in free luxury travel and ritzy perks. Let's jump into this. Mayor Eric Adams took bribes, including $123,000 in free flights and other ritzy perks from foreign nationals in exchange for favors, according to a bombshell federal indictment unsealed by Manhattan prosecutors Thursday. Shout out to Maggie with a 10 who says, so excited to see you back. That reminds me, we do have super chats back again. Does that even show up on the... There we go. So yeah, we see that super chat right there. Okay, I just noticed that we do have super chats back on the stream now. We haven't had those in like years. So thank you guys so much for the support. I'll add your name to our Hall of Heroes in a second here. Just to recap, this is the highest of the recent time, and this is the most recent donation. I manually update these so you guys know it's serious. We'll focus on the story though. I have a show for you guys to see, but shout out to Maggie. Thank you guys for the support. The historic 5-count indictment, the first against a sitting New York mayor, details an alleged decade-long pattern of corruption by Adams that includes fraudulently obtaining $10 million in public campaign funds. The revelation came after the mayor was indicted by a grand jury on conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery charges amid the long-running federal probe. And it goes on to quote, in 2014, Eric Adams, the defendant, became Brooklyn Borough president. Thereafter, for nearly a decade, all the way up to this year, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits, such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him, the 57-page indictment charges. And here's a picture of Eric Adams actually speaking at a press conference immediately after. And that reminds me, I should have grabbed the video of it, but he was giving this speech and somebody started accosting him. It was insane. You know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to find it because we've got a good bit of time tonight. I want to find, I think it was on X that I saw it. Stand by. We're doing some live research right here. I don't do these most of the time, but Eric Adams accosted. I think that'll find what I'm looking for during his speech. Let me see if I can find media. Somebody during his press conference, Eric Adams' press conference. What's another word? I think that should do the job. Stand by. I really want to. I think this is the video I'm looking for. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's should be most of the video of it. I'm gonna make sure that the audio's fine. Somebody said your policies are anti-black. You are a disgrace to all black people in this city. Somebody yelled that at Eric Adams as he was giving a press conference.
This is not a black day. This is not a black day. This is a youth day. This is a youth day, Eric Adams. This is not a black day. Your policies are anti-black.
He can't even talk.
You are a disgrace to all black people in this city.
Dang.
You have done unconscionable. You hurt our schools. Our streets are dirty. Our children are harassed by the police. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You can shush me all you want, but the people are with us.
Dang. Oh my goodness. Okay, I thought it was going to be bad. This is what I'm talking about when I say sometimes I've got a live reaction to things. I don't have the time to watch every single video that goes out there online. I have, sometimes it gets baked in here. Like I saw this one somewhere, or at least I saw the headline of it. I saw this tweet, I think, and I was like, oh, I want to watch that later on. And then I had other stuff to do. That is not just somebody accosting him. That is somebody obliterating him. They just went in there and just thing after thing. Explosion after explosion of facts. I don't know how you recover from that. And it's bad. And this video, this is 38 seconds into this video. I have not heard Eric Adams say a word. He's just sitting there. Where's my crickets? I got to learn where all my things are again. I keep saying this. Do I have crickets? Oh man, well, you guys know. I got to redo my soundboard. I was moving some things around just before the show. But he was just sitting there with the crickets going on. He was just like, bro had nothing to say. He had no defense, or he was just going to let him talk. Maybe that protester's speakers, maybe his loudspeaker was louder than Eric Adams' whole music set. I don't know. That was insane. Truffle says sharp tongue. Like the guy has a sharp tongue. Like, yeah, that was a tongue lashing right there. That was horrible. We're going to get back to the article, but that was crazy. I saw this image and it just reminded me of that thing I saw. I was like, oh, that's crazy. As Adams' prominence and power grew, his foreign national benefactors sought to cash in on their corrupt relationships with him, particularly when in 2021, it became clear that Adams would become New York City's mayor. Adams agreed, providing favorable treatment in exchange for the illicit benefits he received. Adams' first court appearance has been scheduled for Friday at noon at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse at 500 Pearl Street. Dang, this is going real fast. The mayor will surrender to federal authorities sometime before then. Oh man. In the sprawling indictment, prosecutors laid bare an alleged scheme that helped Adams underwrite his 2021 mayoral campaign while showering him with free hotel rooms, flights on Turkey's national airline, and meals at high-end restaurants. In exchange, Adams allegedly pressured Big Apple officials to waive inspections and push through approval for the Turkish consulate in Manhattan, the indictment charges. Oh man. This is some crazy stuff. This is like some next level. This is insane. I gotta pause. What are we thinking of this, folks? I gotta read some chat messages here. Exodus says New York is about to flip red. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know at this point. Like, I mean, realistically speaking, if the Democrats voted overwhelmingly for Eric Adams, and this is happening now, how scorned do we really think they're going to be? They're going to be like, oh, I'm so mad that Eric Adams turned out to be corrupt that I'm going to vote for Trump.
Nope.
I don't think that's the one that's going to happen. But what they will say is,
he can't keep getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it.
They're not going to let him get away with it. I mean, the federal government is on his behind, and I will say that. We'll finish up the article, and then I have some other questions that I'm going to ask both to you guys and to the entire thing going on right now. So let's keep going. You are great, Eric. We are so happy to hear that. The Turkish officials texted Adams. Let me scroll back. After Adams allegedly helped grease FDNY inspections on the Turkish consulate, a Turkish official offered him effusive praise, documents state. You are great, Derek. We are so happy to hear that, the Turkish official texted Adams. According to the court papers, you are... I'm sorry, this one just makes me laugh. I can't even read it. You are a true friend of Turkey. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. As part of the... Oh, guys, I'm struggling. I'm sorry. It's just so many times that we hear of high-profile Democrats selling out America for another country, and it's so hilarious that they acknowledge it. They're like, "You are a true friend of Turkey." But let me put this into perspective real quick. When Trump was in office, hold on. Let me find the image I'm looking for. What is her name? German Chancellor versus Trump. There's that really viral image of I'm Angela Merkel. Yes, I'm blanking on her name, but there it was. Of Angela Merkel leaning on that table, and she just looked mad at Trump. Look at this image. This image right here. This is how Trump had us with other countries. And some people say, oh, it's a bad thing. He made our relationship with these other countries worse. No. Because we have to remember that just because we are allies, and if anything ever pops off, we hope that they'll be on our side and we'll generally be on their side, does not mean that we bow down and let them walk all over us. I wouldn't be surprised if this was about climate or something like that, or maybe Germany and other European countries paying their fair share to NATO or something like that. But look at Trump in this image. He is sitting there defiant, and Angela Merkel's leaning forward and saying something. We got Shinzo Abe here with his arms crossed like, man, I'm listening to this. This is interesting. We miss you, Shinzo. But either way, Angela Merkel leaning forward, and she just looks pissed because he was willing to stand up and say, I am a friend of your country. I may even call myself a friend of yours, but I will do what I must, and I will endure whatever you say to me to ensure that I can put America first. And it looks like most Democrats, including Eric Adams, are not in the same place to say they want to put America first. I'm going to ask a very poignant question on this in just a moment, but before I do, I'm going to read a few chat messages. Let's see here. Aaron says, he did go nonverbal at the function. Yeah, basically he did. Renee X says, Adams tried to fall back on the race car, but the hecklers weren't having it. So true. Dominic Vicinanza? Help me with that one. Sound it out for me. I'm struggling here. But he says the soundboard goes hard. Yes, it does. You got that? Yep. You got that right. We love the soundboard. We do. We truly do. I often wonder if I'm going too hard on it, but I don't think there's a such thing.
What are we talking about?
I don't think there's a such thing. These sounds are hilarious, Oh, and the sounds keep coming. I mean, I've got so many more. That was Eric Adams after that protester showed up on him. But anyways, I'm going to ask a question for you guys, and I want you to hear me out on this. And this might sound a bit more conspiratorial. This might sound, Chandler, if you have one in the room, go grab your tinfoil hat and place it upon your head, because I need you to hear me out right now. And there's a few other people on Twitter that are theorizing this, and, maybe Elon Musk is also on board, so maybe it's not so much of a conspiracy theory at this point. But somebody posted exactly 1 year ago, Mayor Eric Adams admitted off script, and that part is very, very important right there, off script, I'm just being honest, that migrants are destroying New York City. And he just got indicted by Biden-Harris. Now, I don't want to play this whole thing. We've got only a little bit of time for this much of it, but I want you guys to just listen to the rhetoric right here and maybe start to wonder what's up with the timing of this. Because if his so-called, let me go full screen for a second again. If his malfeasance, if him being a great friend of Turkey, if all this has been going on since 2021, since he was the borough president of the Bronx, I think it was, or Brooklyn, one of the two. I know it starts with a B. I'm blanking on it. I know I'm making a New Yorker very, very mad right now. But whichever one of the two he was, I'm going to say Bronx. I think it was Bronx, that he was the borough president of. And we probably knew about it all this time, especially the federal government. Why did they wait until right now, right before the election, just in time, a year after this? Why would they wait so long? I don't know. But let's hear what he has to say about the so-called migrants that are destroying New York City.
No support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this.
Wow.
I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month.
Billions.
One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City.
Oh my God. Here's another one. I didn't give it a full watch. I watched the first like 10 seconds of it and heard what he was saying. I was like, oh, I'm gonna save this. And wow, I'm glad I did. I did not expect him to go as hard as he is right now. I did not expect that. I did not know that he was going to start naming countries and explaining the problem so eloquently. Dang. Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. I'm very curious about the timing. These people in the background do not look happy. they're like, man, you better stop talking right now. Too bad for them. He is bringing the facts. And you guys want to know what he's starting to sound like?
Ultra MAGA.
He's starting to sound a little ultra MAGA. I don't know. I don't know.
And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say...
That's bad. That's bad. I won't play too much more of it. I just wanted to put that out there. A little bit of a conspiracy theory for you guys. Renee X says, this is why I moved out of New York City. I feel you. I feel you. Did I make any New Yorkers mad? I want to see if I made any New Yorkers mad. St. June is in the building. Big shout out. Everybody, you know, round of applause. Come on. For my boy, St. June in the building. He says, and I quote, New York City has a long way to go. St. June, I want to know, what is your opinion of this whole Eric Adams mess? Are you thinking that they might be faking all this? Do you think all this is real? Where do you stand? I'm actually really curious on your opinion because I know you've mentioned New York before, and I think that's really fascinating. But as I mentioned, this is posted in 17,000 likes, of 1.5 million views. Oh my gosh, it's a good amount. Elon Musk commented and said he was told to shut up by the Democratic Party after this. I'm starting to think they're right. I'm starting to think my conspiracy theory has become conspiracy fact. I don't know. Anyways, we are going to move on. There are many, many more stories to go through tonight. Once again, I want to remind you guys, if you're interested in supporting the show, all the links are available in the description. We also, of course, support super chats now, which is great. We did not have super chats on this channel for the longest time. I want to make sure I didn't miss any before we continue on. I always want to make sure that we get those messages read out loud. The great thing is, if you guys ever want to ask a question, I miss it in the chat or things of that nature, you can always ask it through that. We have our links all up there to support what we're doing with this show. But now we got to move on to another very fascinating case. Obviously, with everything that's been happening in New York, both now with Eric Adams and then for a while, the case against Trump, it's been kind of a war zone as far as legal stuff. But a case that's gone a little quiet is the one in Georgia. I'm thinking there's a reason why it started going quiet. There's a whole lot of stuff that was going on with Fani Willis, who was the, what was it? What was she? I'm blanking on it, but she was a very important piece of the case. I want to say she was the district attorney. Oh yeah, there you go. Georgia district attorney for the district that was starting a whole lawsuit against Trump, which was insane. That kind of fell apart. But as it was falling apart, people started to notice that there was a little bit of an interesting thing going on with her and the special counsel on that case, Nathan Wade. Yeah, they were, what's a good sound effect for it? I don't know if I have a sound effect for it. I don't know if I have one. Not for that. I was gonna find, you know, they were in an entanglement, one would say. Well, now he's missing. You cannot make this stuff up. After the whole case fell apart, the House Judiciary Committee, which is currently operated by Republicans, I believe, or at least majority helmed by Republicans, had ordered him to testify before the committee in their investigation of Fani Willis, who they claim was his former lover. And the special counsel, Nathan Wade, has vanished. And that U.S. Marshals are now launching a manhunt for him. I mean, seriously, what's up with these Atlanta boys? How far and fast can they go is what I'm starting to wonder.
Lover boy Nathan Wade is missing. The House Judiciary Committee, which is investigating Georgia DA Fani Willis, needs Wade to testify at a hearing tomorrow on their love affair. But no one can find the guy. They're trying to serve him, but he's flown the coop, and now the U.S. Marshals are in a manhunt to track him down.
Crazy.
Have they checked the condo?
Have they checked the condo? That's a good one, Jesse Waters. That's a good one. People are commenting, the Democrats are hiding. Did they check the cabin? Wow, maybe Fannie had him where she stashes her cash. People are asking some very real questions, and not enough people are getting answers. So much so that people are starting to make memes putting Nathan Wade on milk cartons. In fact, let's just Twitter search his name right now. There's a few people posting the video, and here's what I was looking for. This right here. They are literally putting him on the back of milk cartons. Now, I don't want to make you guys feel old, but I'm actually from a non-bygone era. I was going to say a bygone era, but an actually non-bygone era. I have never had any personal experience of seeing somebody's face on a milk carton. I didn't understand the reference until maybe 4 or 5 years ago when, I hear it on pop culture. I never saw it growing up. Maybe I didn't have cartons like this. We had like the jugs. I don't know if you can really print somebody's face on a jug, but I have never seen somebody's missing face on a milk carton. Is that like a rare thing? Am I the only one that has never grown up with that? I want to hear what you guys think in the chat. It's just not me. That's just not me. I've never experienced that. Let me read what St. June said. He says, New York City is so dirty right now. My out-of-town visitor friend actually witnessed a crazy defecating right on the street. Oh my gosh. That reminds me of the videos I did about California way back in the day. It was bad then, but imagine how bad it is now. Dagny says, got called away a few minutes. Was that a citizen calling him out during the presser? Yes, it was, Dagny. That was not like some professional political commentator. That wasn't some opponent running for office, at least not yet. That was just a man, as far as I know, that was a man that showed up with a loudspeaker and a megaphone and started giving him the business. And to catch everybody up, we're talking about the Eric Adams thing a few videos ago. I don't know if I still have it pulled up. I think I closed out of that one. But he was giving him the business, and he was going in. That was tough. Aaron Barringer says the milk carton thing ended before the 1990s. Okay, so maybe was it that long ago? Wow. Do we have any historians in the building that can tell us a bit more about the milk carton phenomenon? I don't know anything about this. I never grew up with it. Sounds, maybe Aaron, I don't know if you grew up with it or not. Dagny, Renee, please guys, let me know. I'm so curious. All right, we're going to move on to the next story, but please let me know in the chat and we'll catch up to it. I know we've got a little bit of a delay. The next story is kind of big. So for those of you that may or may not know, at about 4:30 p.m. Eastern today, Trump gave a press conference of which, I thought it was going to have some big announcements in it. And there was one big announcement we'll get into. It was mostly just kind of going over campaign stuff, talking about the border, criticizing Kamala, stuff you should do in a campaign. But there was a very large piece of information that was dropped that people are paying a lot of attention to. Two large pieces. One of those that I don't have an article for, but Trump is going to be meeting with Keir Starmer, who's, I believe he was running for UK Prime Minister, or is the UK Prime Minister? I got to get back on this stuff. Okay, he is the UK Prime Minister. Oh, and he's the Labour Prime Minister, so he's like the equivalent of, Joe Biden. Like a Democrat over there. I recognize the name, but I haven't paid that much close attention to UK politics after the whole stuff that happened with the Conservatives a few years ago. That's some crazy stuff. That's all to a side, though. People are meeting with Trump as if he's already won the election, which is pretty funny, like Keir Starmer. But here's the big one. Trump has announced that he intends to meet with Vladimir Zelensky Friday morning in Trump Tower. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet with former president and GOP presidential nominee Trump on Friday morning at Trump Tower in New York City. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting caught up again. I'm a little childish these days, but it's so funny that Trump has a building just called Trump Tower. I love that. Isn't that just so funny? I don't know. I'm commenting on it. In New York, Trump made the announcement during a press conference he gave in his hometown, NYC, on Thursday morning. President Zelensky is asked to meet with me, Trump said, and I will be meeting with him around 9:45 a.m. in Trump Tower. And it's a shame what's happening in Ukraine. So many deaths, so much destruction. It's a horrible thing.
As you know, President Zelensky is asked to meet with me, and I will be meeting with him tomorrow morning at around 9:45 in Trump Tower. And it's a shame what's happening in Ukraine. So many deaths, so much destruction.
Yeah, just basically what I just read. Trump has said repeatedly that if he's elected, he intends to bring the war between Ukraine and Russia to a close. And I love it. I love it when he says this. And I don't know, I have a lot of faith in Trump. I don't know how much he can really make that happen, but he says to a close within 24 hours. Oh man. Imagine if everything he said, guys, just for a second. Imagine if this man gets into office, and obviously, he can't do it. He can't snap his fingers as an elected president if he can't. That's even crazier. But imagine on January 20th, 2025, he gets into office, and on January 21st, or, with time zones, maybe January 22nd, we have Putin and Zelensky shaking hands. Imagine if we saw that just within hours. That I don't know how possible that is. But I wouldn't put it out. Like, maybe it's not 0%, maybe 1%, not 1%, maybe 0. But I don't know. It could be something. His intention is to do this by negotiating with the two leaders. His Democrat rival Kamala Harris has backed further munitions and weapons aid to Ukraine, as has President Joe Biden, who on Thursday morning announced plans to send another $8 billion in weapons to the embattled nation. I often start to wonder, do we have any of our own guns left? I mean, how many guns do we have? Because I feel like the $8 billion, that's not even a big number in my eyes anymore for the amount of weapons we've sent to them. Like, that's not a lot. I mean, I've heard of, $100 million packages at the beginning, and then it just became 10 billion, 12 billion, 15 billion, 40 billion. I think at one point we saw some ridiculously stupid number like that. Maybe not that high, but something crazy. To me, I'm so... numb to this now. 8 billion sounds like nothing to me when it comes to how much money in weapons we send to that nation. I don't know. Zelensky has been in the U.S. meeting with the Biden-Harris administration. He also took a tour of a munitions factory in Scranton, PA, which has been manufacturing ammunition to send to Ukraine. Kamala and Zelensky met and held a joint address on Thursday afternoon. In her remarks, she said the U.S. supports Ukraine, not out of charity, but because it is in our strategic interest. We will continue to provide the security assistance. Wait, really? Are you serious? Let me continue watching this here. I think I heard about this, but I didn't watch this.
History has shown us.
Is she actually standing in front of Ukraine flags? And is she actually... Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Is Zelensky... Did they ask Zelensky to campaign for Kamala Harris?
Yep.
What?
What are we talking about?
This man is one of the two people involved in a gigantic war going on. And you have him campaigning for the Democrat nominee. The Democrat nominee that not a single person has voted for. I'm not going to get on my soapbox right now. We're not watching this. We're not watching this. But I just had to scrub and see that. Are you serious? You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. Ukraine's fight matters to the people of America, she said. And there it is. I don't know. I feel like if you got 10,000 people in a room and asked them if they believe that the war in Ukraine matters more than inflation, hell, even if the war in Ukraine matters more than the migrant crisis right now, the second one might be a bit of a harder sell, but the first one, not a large, I'd say, if it was 10,000 people, maybe 400 would say, yeah, I think the war in Ukraine matters more than inflation. And those 300 or 400 people, yeah, they're either already broke, they don't care, or they're so rich that they also don't care. But the rest of the people in that room, oh, and those people don't have brains, by the way, but the rest of the people in that room would not stand here and say, yeah, I think it's the most important thing. I don't even know how many of them would say it matters. We're starting to get sick of this crap. Who is still interested in saying, yeah, we need to support the war, we need to keep fighting? No, we need an end to the war. Like, it shouldn't say the fight matters. We should say the peace matters. Finding a resolution matters. But no, we want to somehow continue the forever wars. I don't get it. Joe Biden confirmed in a recent interview, he's still doing those, I start to wonder. I wonder between the two of them who really does more interviews. I really do. It's tough. That Harris has been involved in every aspect of his leadership, both domestic and foreign policy, in a statement on Thursday morning. The Biden-Harris administration announced plans to ship more weapons to Ukraine, including long-range missiles, which Biden had previously promised not to do, of course. Oh man, do I still have my Biden voice? I don't know. I haven't done it in a while. It's not even worth it. I'm not going to do it to you guys. The Department of Defense is announcing $2.4 billion in security assistance through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which will provide Ukraine with additional air defense, unmanned aerial systems, and other things. To enhance Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities, it reads, the administration has decided to provide Ukraine with the Joint Standoff Weapon long-range munition. That's some crazy stuff right there. And, oh man, I don't even want to read that part. This builds on my decision earlier this year to divert U.S. air defense exports to Ukraine, which will provide Ukraine with hundreds of additional Patriot and AMRAAM missiles over the next year and will help Ukraine defend its cities and its people. He directed the Department of Defense to expand training for Ukrainian F-16 pilots, including by supporting the training of an additional 18 pilots next year. I often wonder if, and we saw it the amount of times that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, or at least I know Kamala Harris visited Ukraine. Didn't she go there more times than she went to the southern border? Is that just me? I feel like I remember that was a stat, that she visited the Ukraine like 3 or 4 times and she went to the border twice, maybe once, if at all. I don't quote me on that. I'm sure if David Muir were here, he'd say, actually, we don't have evidence of that. And, he'd yell at me or something like that. We know how they do on the debate. But I think that she went to Ukraine more than the border, at least 1 year, maybe her entire time, but at least 1 year. And she's going to Arizona soon. We'll talk about that. That's one of our stories we have up here, and people are starting to wonder about the timing of it, why she suddenly decided to actually care about her title as the border czar. But anyways, we're going to move on. We've got some funny stuff about the Kamala Harris campaign as a whole and what the next generation thinks about the Kamala campaign, because there's some hilarious videos that are coming out. But I want to give a huge shout out to the folks we still have with us in the building, including Dominic and Dagny. Aaron says, the milk carton thing, by the late 1980s, the campaign began to fade out and was gone almost entirely by the invention of the Amber Alert. Oh, yes, I do know about the Amber Alert. Yeah, those things are scary. You ever been asleep at 2 a.m. and you're just like, oh yeah, you're having a nice dream, and suddenly hear you like, your phone's just going off. It's not like your alarm, it's just screaming at you. And you pick up the phone and it says, look out for a Chevy Silverado 2001, all white, with the license plates FFIG 3576, Texas. And you're like, man, what do you expect me to do? Like, yeah, I'm gonna drive down the street, I'm gonna keep an eye out for a Chevy Silverado, but I don't know, those things are pretty aggressive. Good old Amber Alerts. They're a good thing though, but they definitely have scared me on 1 or 2 occasions. Renee X says, Fani tried to jail Trump, now her daughter is sitting in yeah, that's yep. Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about that one, but yeah, that's true, Renee X. I would have covered that too if I was doing a show around then. That is a hilarious one. That's true. Actually, if we have time at the end, I'll check that story. But Fani Willis has a daughter, obviously, and that daughter was pulled over and was driving with a suspended license or something like that. And she is now sitting in the slammer as we speak.
I'm just being honest.
You can't make this stuff up.
You mad or nah?
I'm asking Fani Willis that one. Anyways, let's get back to the stories we have here. What do the next generation think about Kamala Harris? Obviously, maybe you ask your random kid on TikTok between the ages of 17 and 20. They might say Kamala Harris is so brat. Or they might say Kamala Harris is terrible. Some machination of the two. But what do we think about people that are a little bit younger than that age group? Well, apparently a kid got asked by a CNN reporter the following. What's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris? What does he say, you might ask?
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
What's
You can't make this stuff up, folks. You can't make this stuff up. But he was not the only one. He was not the only one. Chuck Callisto said, dang, that is conclusive. She's finished. Juanita Broderick, OMG, has to have great parents. Prop to his parents, obviously. Everybody that's, conservative is going to be like, oh, that's pretty basic. I'm sure if there's some liberals in here they'd say the opposite. They'd say, oh, this kid is brainwashed, whatever. You know, these things happen. It's opinions. But there was another one. And obviously, on first glance, you're going to say, like, oh, wow, this is interesting. It'd be good. She says, I'd be good for us to have a black woman as president for the first time in history, but my vote's kind of still on Trump. What?
It'd be good for us to have a black woman as president for the first time in history.
Yeah.
But my vote's kind of still on Trump. It'd be good.
I kind of want to find the rest of this video. I don't know if they're going to let us see it, but somebody said send her a ballot immediately. Okay, guys, let's not be crazy. Let's not be crazy. Obviously, this is a, 6-7-year-old that's saying some things. And, I'll admit, when I was 14, like, I wouldn't say you should send me a ballot. I don't know. Like, I think you've got to give it a little bit more time, become an adult, all these things. Who knows? This is 10 and 11-year-olds, so give her, 7 or 8 more years to, grow and learn and whatever it takes. But I will say I do like what I'm hearing. From an ideological perspective, it is very fun. It's very good. And I think it's always fun to hear, this kid says, oh, she's a liar. Maybe he's watching stuff, but she says my vote's kind of still on Trump. That's so interesting. That is so interesting to me. Roxanne Shante says, wow. Aaron says, why are they even asking kids to begin with? Well, it's CNN. They don't have much else to do. They don't really report news anymore. They are kind of just, I don't know. Like, I don't call myself a journalist. I bring you guys news. Sometimes you guys don't know it. I'm according to the chat, most of you guys might not know this one. And I present the story as best as I can. I give my own spin on it. But I'm, from the beginning, pushing the story and letting you guys hear the information that I'm hearing as well, while also making it very clear when I'm separating my opinion. CNN is not the same. CNN is not the same, and nobody knows them to be that way. So they're going to ask kids questions about politics, and that's just what happens. Speaking of asking kids about politics, oh, that was a good segue, because you guys will not believe who is saying the dumbest stuff possible about politics these days. Should I give you guys a Jeopardy minute to think about it? I'll give you some hints. First things first, the person we're talking. Who am I talking about? We are talking about Mark Cuban. Billionaire Mark Cuban, who has suddenly become Kamala Harris's biggest spokesperson, says he wants to be head of the SEC. But he's also said some insanely stupid things, including one thing which I thought I had on here, but I'm just going to find it. He said that the average media is right-wing. What? What? And let me see if I can find a story. I want to see what he actually sold his majority stake at the Mavericks. So that's interesting. I don't follow it that closely. But he says, all right, we'll read a Mediaite article. That's the only one that Google would let me find. Mark Cuban rejects accusations that media leans liberal, says conservatives control the space today. Mainstream media is not who you think it is. I don't even know if I want to read this article. I don't know. It's Mediaite. We know Mediaite. But I just wanted to cover the fact that he actually is out here saying that the average media source of the mainstream media is right wing, and people are dogpiling on him for this. And we'll go over that in a minute. But I want to hear a little bit of what he says. I mean, how much stupidity can he fit in 44 seconds? I haven't watched this one fully, so this could be a real doozy. Let's see what he's gonna say right here.
But I ask you, Mark, whether you would entertain being a Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary in a Harris administration.
Head of the SEC. Head of the SEC. That's the job I would take. Donald Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald.
What? What? I don't even have words for that. Let me bring the chat on screen. Let's just.
What are we talking about?
What? I don't know what to say. There are not many times that I'm truly left speechless, but that was almost offensively stupid.
The SEC, that's the job I would take. Donald Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald Trump went out and recommended that interest rate caps be set.
Look, even the CNN host, he's like, and it took him a second to, these are a little bit slower people, but from the moment that he said that,
Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald Trump went out and recommended that interest.
Took him 5 seconds even, and he was like, he had to tilt his head, kind of like a dog. You know, when you show a dog something, the dog's just so confused, it's just like, huh? that is the CNN host right there.
Rate caps be set to 10%. That, I mean, the fact that he's even suggesting price controls and price caps is socialism 101. The future,
bro, sounds like us a little bit. He sounds like conservatives these days. It's hilarious.
Of our country, militarily, economically, is going to be driven by new technologies that she understands and that she supports.
Kamala Harris understands the new technology and supports the new technology. This is just some insanity that's coming from Mark Cuban right now. And somebody in the chat said it very clearly. Mark Cuban is completely irrelevant. But I'm showing him not because I care about what Mark Cuban has to say, but because the memes are becoming hilarious. Elon Musk commented under it, said, Mark Cuban is proof that morons can become billionaires. But that wasn't where it ended. The Babylon Bee had to get involved. And I think we've got time. I might even read this. Just for you guys. You know, love a good laugh. But the headline is, Mark Cuban inspires thousands by proving even the very retarded can become wealthy. Here we are. Mark Cuban was recently recognized for his monumental, entirely satire article, by the way, guys. This is for laughs, okay? Let's go. Contributions to human morale. As the businessman and investor has inspired thousands of people by proving that even the very stupid can become wealthy. According to several very stupid people, Mark Cuban has been a shining light for their aspirations of one day owning several companies and a failing basketball team, despite being handicapped by a severe case of this. I'm not even reading this quote. I'm not doing it. In many ways, Mark's success is a win for morons everywhere, said Jimmy Bungo, who was late for his interview after he repeatedly tried to pull open a push door. I'm personally inspired that someone so idiotic managed to make something of himself in the world. I mean, if he can do it, maybe I can too. Thanks, Mr. Cuban. From all of us to you. In addition to receiving the National Stupid People's Association Award for inspiring the dumb that they can get rich too, Cuban has been recognized for his other philanthropic efforts, such as giving the NBA a great laughingstock to make fun of all the time. At publishing time, Cuban had endorsed fellow stupid person Kamala Harris for president. You guys can't make this stuff up. We can't make this stuff up. I don't know. This is the really hilarious stuff. Roxanne Sanchez says, I liked him on Shark Tank, but he has a punchable face. I loved him on Shark Tank too. I grew up with a little bit of Shark Tank. It was Shark Tank and Undercover Boss. Those are like the two business style shows. I didn't understand the stock market, didn't understand taxes, didn't understand none of that. But if you put on Undercover Boss, I was suddenly the best CEO. I would sit there and be like, yeah, we could really increase the profit margin here. You know, we could cut some costs right there. I love Undercover Boss. I miss when they used to do that show. And Shark Tank. I liked Shark Tank not as much. It didn't have a lot going for it to me. But the even funnier thing with Mark Cuban is that he's actually recognizing it. He quote tweeted it and said, if I can do it, you can do it too. Well, guys, I think he's admitting it. I think Mark Cuban has realized that he is, well, to avoid being demonetized by YouTube again, this word right here. Yep. All right, let's move on. Like I mentioned before, Kamala Harris has finally decided to make her way down to Arizona. In fact, it says they will campaign on Arizona's border with Mexico in an attempted show of strength on immigration. The irony in that sentence is so hilarious. Kamala Harris campaign to show strength on immigration. And if you had said that to me in 2020 or in 2021, I would have laughed you out of the room. I would have told you to leave my chat. I would have timed you out of my chat. I would have spent 3 minutes laughing. I would have fallen over. You wouldn't be able to see me anymore. I would be crying laughing. And I'd get back in my seat, I'd wipe the tears out of my eyes, and I'd block you from the chat for 3 hours. Shout out to Steve Rogers in the chat, by the way. He is an OG. I think he was legitimately on my very first live stream in like 2019. I swear. I might go back and look at it and confirm, but Steve Rogers, huge shout out to you. I think you were there for my very first stream back in 2019, so good to see you in there. And Aaron says that was a Babylon Bee headline. Yeah, it was. No, I know it was Babylon Bee. I'm mentioning that very specifically. Babylon Bee, he's accepting it. I think he knows what he is. I think he knows what he is. Anyways, let's jump into this. Vice President Kamala Harris will visit the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona on Friday as her campaign tries to turn the larger issue of immigration from a liability somehow into a strength. Okay, I don't know. And hopes to counter a line of frequent searing political attacks from former President Trump. Her campaign announced Wednesday that Harris will be in Douglas, Arizona, across the border from Agua Prieta, Mexico. A Harris aide who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a trip that was still being planned said the vice president plans to speak about border security and how, as a former attorney general of California, who was raised in a middle-class family, don't forget that part, very important. You know, she was raised in a middle-class family and worked at McDonald's. She took on international gangs and criminal organizations who traffic drugs, guns, and human beings. But she did spend most of her time throwing away people for marijuana charges, even though she also campaigned for it to be legal. Whatever. She also has long believed that the country needs an immigration system that is secure, fair, orderly, and humane. Isn't that what you got in your idea of secure, fair, orderly, and humane? Because secure doesn't mean anything to you. Fair means let anybody in. Orderly means as long as they're ending up on this side instead of that side, that's the order they wanted in. And humane, we'll just drop the E and replace it with an S and get as many of humans as possible up here. Although it really starts to wonder how many of them truly are humans with the amount of insane things that are being done. Need I mention Laken Riley and Jocelyn Noongaray and many others. Trump has built his campaign partly around calling for cracking down on immigration and the southern border, even endorsing using police and the military to carry out mass deportations should he be elected in November. Harris has increasingly tried to seize on the issue and turn it back against her opponent, though polls show voters continue to trust Trump more on it. I wonder why voters continue to trust Trump more on it. Could it be the fact that they realize that she was indeed, for all these years, the borders are? Could it be the fact that they realize that for all these years it has been her job to manage it and she has fumbled the bag? Could it be that they realize that the amount of people that are keeling over from fentanyl, the amount of women that are scared to walk home at night, or if they do walk home at night, are potentially being snatched up, driven into the woods with terrible things happening to them and ending up without heads on their bodies, and the needless to mention countless other insane crazy things that can happen, not to mention even if they are completely law-abiding, I wouldn't want to call them citizens, but they're completely law-abiding, they are, as Trump says, taking away, and they hate it when we said the phrase, but jobs that are oftentimes operated by black people, black jobs, or just simply any job that any person could take, particularly a citizen. We have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of homeless American citizens that could do quite well with some of the jobs that are being occupied by illegal immigrants. I don't know. Just how important immigration and the border are ahead of Election Day was evidenced by Trump wasting little time reacting to word of Harris's trip. He told a crowd in Mint Hill, North Carolina, that Harris was going to the border for political reasons and because their polls are tanking. When Kamala Harris speaks about the border, her credibility is less than zero, I said in my terrible Trump impression, quoting what Trump actually said. I hope you're going to remember that on Friday. When she tells you about the border, just ask her one simple question. Why didn't you do it 4 years ago? That is the most important question people are going to have to ask themselves as they walk to the polls. Because guys, the election is a mere, I think, 42, I want to say, days away. How many days until Election Day? Let's get this confirmed. Oh, wow. Google doesn't want to tell me automatically. We are now 39 days until Election Day. 39 days and 4 hours from now is November 5th, 2024, Election Day. And there are going to be a lot of people making a very pivotal decision. As we bring the show to its final moments, as I have a couple more stories, but they're more fun style stories, I want to ask you guys, do we really think that they can take it this time? Do we really think that Kamala Harris is going to pull through? Or is she going to flip as many states? Is she going to flip Georgia? Is she going to flip Pennsylvania? Is she going to take all the battlegrounds? Or is it time that we rise up and declare to them once and for all that we want to take our country back? That's the question I'm going to leave you guys with. I had another story in relation to Arizona, but I think I'm going to save it for a video. I think we have enough time for this one last story, and then we're going to do our goodbyes. Just to give you guys a little hint about this story, though, apparently some non-citizens in Arizona are being registered to vote, and we have video of them admitting it. But I don't know if we have enough time for it tonight. I think I'm going to record a video for it, post it up here on the channel and all the other places. So keep an eye out on this channel for more content. We're bringing back recorded, produced videos on the channel as well as the live stream. So obviously make sure you're subscribed for all that. Last question though, or last story I should say, is a more fun one. Obviously, many people have been calling it a distraction, but sometimes, this is the best thing that you can get from Hollywood and from the entertainment industry. Diddy's lawyer says he cannot wait to testify in court as speculation mounts over who he'll bring down with him. As you guys know, Diddy is a very large, I don't really want to call him like a hip-hop artist these days. I haven't heard much music from him in a very long time, but he's a very large piece of a big pop culture movement that's been going on for decades now. And after years of people saying he's been doing some crazy stuff, after basically decades of him saying he's been doing some crazy stuff, they finally got him on some crazy charges. Sean Diddy Cobbs cannot wait to testify in his upcoming trial, according to his lawyer. Mark Agnifilo, Agnifilo, a former Manhattan district attorney, gave TMZ a glimpse into how Diddy's trial might play out as part of the outlet's upcoming documentary on the case. I don't know that I could keep him off the stand. I think he is very eager to tell his story, and I think he will tell every part of his story. I don't know if everybody wants to hear every part of the story. He, the lawyer, Agnifilo, is speaking out roughly a week after Diddy was indicted in New York and charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Diddy, who is 54, pleaded not guilty to all three charges and was denied bail. The judge who will preside over this case agreed with prosecutors that he was a serious flight risk and that he posed a danger to others. And I don't want to get too into it, but there's been pop culture's been going crazy about this whole Diddy stuff. Criminal defendants have the right under the Fifth Amendment not to testify so as not to further incriminate themselves. They also have the right to testify even if it goes against their lawyer's advice. When any witness takes a stand in a trial, the opposing team of counsel, whether it be the prosecution or the defense, has the opportunity to cross-examine and poke holes in their story. And based on what the lawyer is saying, it appears Diddy believes a jury ought to hear his version of events despite the risks. People are starting to wonder if there's going to be any connection or involvement with Diddy and some of these mainstream Democrat or possibly Republican, but more than likely Democrat candidates. As we know, Diddy was heavily involved in the Kamala Harris campaign in 2020. In fact, there's a tweet of Kamala Harris thanking Diddy or something. Here we go. Kamala Harris thanks Diddy for some sort of event they did. Here's the best image I can find of it. I imagine the tweet might have been taken down by now, and this is real. Thank you, Diddy, for hosting this town hall last night. There's a lot of stake for our communities right now. It's critical we're bringing to the forefront how coronavirus is perpetuating racial inequity and health disparities. And I believe this was either slightly before or while she was running for vice president with Biden. And now she's running for president herself. So people are starting to wonder, especially with Kamala Harris's history with Willie Brown. Is there any connection? Nobody knows. I'm not going to make any claims. I'm not trying to have anybody go after me, but there's a lot of questions there that need to be answered. Roxanne Shante says he threw a party for Obama. Hey, there is all sorts of crazy stuff going on. And as many people in Hollywood have said, and you can quote me on this, even though I never went, there's no party like a Diddy party, apparently. And there's no party like the Democrat Party. That is where we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our very first show back here of Crump Live. I want to give a huge shout out to our Hall of Heroes. In fact, I'm going to update the name right now for our person tonight who joined the Hall of Heroes, Maggie. Big shout out to her and everybody else that we have in the building, especially St. June and anybody else that has supported us. I want to make sure I'm not missing any others real quick before we wrap up. As always, I appreciate you guys for joining and participating in the show. I couldn't have done it without y'all. Y'all always make it so fun. We are going to continue bringing the live show to you guys. However, next week, I do have to admit, we will not be on schedule because we'll actually be streaming early. We will be live on Tuesday, just in time for the vice presidential debate. In fact, if I can find out what time it is, I can let you guys know what time I'll be going live. I go live about an hour or maybe half an hour beforehand. Let me see here. Let me just find a quick little article about it. Spotlight in front of millions of people. The vice presidential debate will be a big one between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, who, to my knowledge, have never had any direct connection or conversation. And I'm really excited about it. And that is October 1st, next Tuesday. So we'll be back live around then. I'm really struggling to find the time. Let me see here. Time? Are they not going to... a second time? Maybe they haven't announced what time it starts yet. But no matter what, keep an eye on this channel, on Rumble, on X, on Facebook, wherever you're joining me live. Right now, you'll be able to find me live next Tuesday for the vice presidential debate. It should be fun. Aside from all that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all you folks, Steve Rogers, St. June. It's really fun to be back, and we're going to keep bringing the streams to you. But aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace out, and good night.
Into the light we go.